Hey, what's up everybody? This is Osterberg501 and today I'm going to go over 10 new legendary weapons for Outriders that recently got leaked. Now before we get into the video, less than 5% of people that watch my videos are subscribed to my channel. So make sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with all of my uploads. Now, if you don't want to be spoiled on how these legendary weapons look and what their unique mods are, stop watching the video right now because these definitely can spoil you if you're someone that likes to just see the legendaries the first time when you loot them yourselves. Now, I'm not 100% certain on how all of these new legendary weapons have been leaked in screenshots. If I would have to guess, I'm assuming it's probably using something like cheat engine and data mining files. And the reason I say that is because all the information we've gotten on Outriders so far shows us that once you hit max level of 30 and then hit expedition level 15, the max item level of items you get is level 50. And all the items in these screenshots are level 52. Now, it's possible that you're able to get higher level items than level 50 some way in the game, but from all the information I know, the max is 50, so that also helps me determine that these were probably leaked by data mining files or using cheat engine or something like that. And the first weapon is a Mindmugger. Now, with what I just went over, don't pay too much attention to the actual number stats on these weapons. I'm not even certain if you can get this high of item level of items in the game, so don't pay too much attention to those numbers on the mods or on the weapon itself. Mainly I want to go over the name, how cool these weapons look, and most importantly the mods they have on them, because all legendary items in Outriders have their own unique tier 3 mod on them. And also, as you'll see going through these weapons, these are some of the most unique looking weapons I've seen in any shooter game ever, and in my opinion they are some of the coolest ones I've seen in any game. Destiny and Borderlands have some pretty cool looking weapons, but in my opinion these ones definitely beat a lot of weapons from those games. So the tier 3 mod for this weapon is an anomaly mutation. Shots on enemies afflicted by any status condition multiplicates and mutes into a different one. Now this seems incredibly strong first off, but I'm not certain how this actually works. So if you shoot an enemy, say, that's on fire or is toxic on them, it multiplicates then mutates. Now I'm not sure if it multiplicates the effect of that status and then mutates it into something else, because I'm not even certain how that would work, because there's damage over time and there's like slow effects. So would it double the slow and then double the damage and then change it to something else? Or would it add another status effect when you shoot them and then randomly rolls one or both of those status effects into something else? So I'm not exactly certain how that works, but it seems incredibly strong nonetheless. Then damage link. Shots link up to 4 enemies, sharing 30% of their weapon damage dealt and 10% of their anomaly damage dealt. Cooldown of 4 seconds. Now if I'm not mistaken, only the tier 3 on these is going to be unique. The other mod, the other secondary mod on all of these weapons should be something that can be rolled on different items and then just randomly rolled on rarities that aren't legendary. Then we have the Molten Eidola. Not exactly certain how to pronounce that, but this weapon we actually have seen one time before. If I'm not mistaken, it was in the Expedition broadcast from the developers. Now we saw a level 49 level 1 in that, and that's the highest level item we've seen until these screenshots. But I also want to put this one in because this weapon seems incredibly strong and also looks really cool. I don't know why, but it kind of reminds me something out of Pirates of the Caribbean. But the tier 3 mod is Ravenous Locust. Shots create a swarm of locusts, dealing a ton of damage over 15 seconds and inflicting weakness to enemies remaining within a 6-meter radius of the target. Cooldown of 2 seconds. Now, like I said, you can't pay too much attention to the numbers, but on the level 49 version that was shown in the video by the official developers, it also had the locust damage over 15 seconds being incredibly high. So this seems like it's going to be a very high damage weapon. And what's really cool about this is if, say, you're doing super endgame content, there's tons of elites, tons of super high health enemies, you can shoot an enemy, wait 2 seconds, shoot another one, and then have this ticking damage over 15 seconds that then also does damage to enemies around it because it has a 6-meter radius and also inflicts weakness to everything. And if you don't know, weakness makes enemies deal 30% less damage if I'm not mistaken. And then we have Brain Eater. Critical shots do not consume ammo. That's a general mod that I've even seen in the demo already. Then we have the Roaring Umbra, and its tier 3 mod is Kinetic Stomp. Shots create a seismic shock around you, dealing 51,000 damage in a 5-meter radius, cooldown of 3 seconds. So essentially, this weapon seems to be an LMG that wants you to be very close range with everything. And every 3 seconds when you shoot, it's going to do a big amount of damage around you. So definitely something really close range is going to make this weapon very, very strong. And then the other mod on it is Bleeding Bullets. Shots inflict bleed on enemies, cooldown of 8 seconds. Now, like I said, the second mod on these legendaries aren't unique to the weapon. They can be rolled on anything else that's not legendary. But if I'm not mistaken, the secondary mod on these legendary weapons, even though they can come on other things, they're also always going to be on this specific legendary when it drops. So if I'm not mistaken, say if you get a Roaring Umbra, say if you get 5 of them, all 5 would have the Bleeding Bullets mod on it. That's the way it's seemingly been explained. Then we have the Bulwark, and the tier 3 mod is Ultimate Anomaly Surge. Critical shots spawn an anomaly energy blast that deals 46,000 damage in a 2-meter radius. And this seems to be a very strong single target damage because the 2-meter radius is not very big, so it's not going to lend itself well to AoEing that damage and having that proc hit multiple enemies. It's going to be pretty rare to hit multiple enemies with that proc, but this effect does not have a cooldown. So if you just spam a ton of shots into the face of a boss or an elite enemy, it's going to start to build up tons of additional damage because of this mod. So I could definitely see this mod being put on the highest RPM weapon you can possibly get in the game and just shredding bosses. This is one I would definitely keep an eye out for when looking for boss killing weapons. And then the other mod is Clip of Amathia. There's a 20% chance that critical shots do not consume ammo, which would obviously be incredibly strong mixed with that tier 3 mod. Next, we have the Headhunter, and the tier 3 mod is Bursts of Decay. Critical shots cause explosions that inflict toxic on enemies within a 5-meter radius. So any critical shot explodes and applies toxic to everything in the area, which is pretty strong. Now, even though that seems decently strong, this does not seem like a super strong tier 3 weapon mod by itself. Now, it definitely seems like something that if you mix in a toxic build with this, that this would be something that is needed to facilitate a specific build that's going into the toxic status effect. So it seems like it could be weak by itself, but it could also be something that is needed for a specific build. Then the tier 1 mod is Vampire. Killing shots grant 15% skill leech bonus for 20 seconds. Then we have the Highroller that looks kind of futuristic to me, and the tier 3 mod is Embalmer's Rage. For 8 seconds after a killing shot, all following shots will be critical shots. And this is really strong, especially since it's a shotgun, and what's nice with this is that you don't have to hit headshots once you get a kill. And this has no cooldown or anything, so you should be able to keep that effect going indefinitely if you can constantly kill an enemy every 8 seconds. And especially with a shotgun, being able to not have to hit headshots and getting all crits is incredibly strong. This mod, even if you're not using it on this weapon, is probably going to be one of those mods that you're going to want because it's just going to be so strong baseline. And I can already see some of these tier 3 mods mixing ridiculously well with each other. The other mod on it is Clip Roller. When your magazine has 50% or less ammo, you can roll to quickly reload all your equipped weapons. And I'm assuming the reason they put this on this weapon is because it only has a clip size of 3, so you just being able to roll and fully reload it would be pretty nice compared to just having to reload after every 3 shots. Next, we have the Reaper. This is definitely another favorite of mine in terms of looks of a weapon. And the tier 3 mod for this is Ultimate Weakening Bullets. Shots inflict weakness on enemies. Now, this is a pretty basic effect, but also pretty strong. Weakness, if you don't know, when an enemy has weakness, they deal 30% less damage. And with a high RPM, high clip size weapon, you could easily hit everything on the battlefield with weakness. This also doesn't have a cooldown, so it could be pretty strong as like a secondary weapon. Switch to hit everything with weakness. Now everything's dealing less damage to you. Or it could be more of a support weapon if you're playing with a group. Someone has this and constantly has it applied to everybody. The other mod is Death Chains. Shots entangle an enemy with chains, dealing 37,000 damage over 3 seconds. Cooldown of 2 seconds. Then we have the Wicker, and its tier 3 mod is Ultimate Ashen Bullets. Shots inflict ash on enemies. Now this is another pretty boring tier 3 mod, but it's incredibly strong and it can synergize extremely well with other mods and even certain class abilities. So say I know specifically for the Pyromancer, they have an armor mod that turns one of their abilities from working off of the fire status effect to ash. So you could hit everything with ash and use that ability, and then it will work off of ash instead of incinerary. And then its other mod is ricochet. Shots ricochet to another enemy within a 5-meter radius of the initial target. And also take into consideration the ricochet is probably going to also apply the effect from the tier 3 mod. And I'm assuming that's also why they have it specifically put on this weapon. So you can ricochet bullets around and inflict ash on multiple enemies with a single bullet, which would be incredibly strong. Then we have Time Ripper. Its tier 3 mod is ultimate stiffening. Shots inflict slow on enemies. Again, another mod that just inflicts status effects. There's going to be a tier 3 mod for every status effect in the game that inflicts that status effect on enemies with no cooldown. And this one inflicts slow, which again could be incredibly strong, especially because I think slow is a really strong non-damaging status effect, probably the strongest in the game. Then the second mod is Gravedigger's Frenzy. Critical shots increase your critical damage by 50% for 5 seconds. And I'm assuming they probably put that on this weapon because you can slow enemies and easily hit headshots with it to crit to then increase your crit damage after hitting those crits. And then we have Twisted Mercy. And the tier 3 for this is ultimate vulnerability bullets. Shots inflict vulnerability. Again, another tier 3 mod that applies a status effect. And this one is also incredibly strong because vulnerability makes enemies take 30% more damage, which is really good. I'm not exactly certain how well that will scale with other status effects. Like, is this one just going to be the ultimate best status effect? Or say something like, if you're doing a toxic build, will toxic just scale so heavily that you would want that toxic over the vulnerability? Not certain. But again, take into consideration that you can take that tier 3 mod and put it on anything. So even though that can seem a bit boring as a tier 3 mod, this could facilitate tons of other things and synergize well with other things in your build. And you could have 2 tier 3 mods on a weapon. So it could just be one of the tier 3 mods. And the other one could be something that's a little bit more exciting. Then Brain Eater again as the other mod. Critical shots do not consume ammo. So that is all of the leaked weapons I wanted to go over today. There's a good chunk more of leaked weapons, so I'm probably going to do another video and go over all of those. And in my opinion, all of these weapons look really cool. They all look so unique. A lot of the mods seem really cool, and it's going to be crazy combining these mods. And that's one of the biggest takeaways from looking at these weapons. Consider that getting one of these weapons, one of these legendary weapons, you can then disassemble it, get that tier 3 mod, and put that tier 3 mod on another legendary weapon and have 2 tier 3 mods on a legendary weapon, essentially allowing you to get any combination of 2 tier 3 mods in the game that you want. That can create some ridiculous combinations, even if one of those mods is kind of boring and just applies a status effect. So subscribe if you want to see more Outriders or other videos. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you guys think about these legendary weapons, and thanks for watching.